So I brought a bunch of things to show you, all kinds of pumpkins, and we'll take a look at them and maybe we'll demystify the winter squash. This is sugar pie pumpkin, which looks like a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin, but it might be a little bit sweeter, a little bit tastier. You can actually absolutely eat your jack-o'-lantern pumpkins. They may not be the most delicious, but you can eat them technically. But if you're looking for a pumpkin to cook, to make a pie, then the sugar pie pumpkin, this classical pumpkin, is gonna be a great choice. It tends to be a little bit watery, so there are also other kinds. This is a Cinderella pumpkin. They go by other names as well, a French one that I can't pronounce, and they can be much, much bigger. This is a green, this is green, but it's a Japanese kabocha pumpkin and is orange on the inside. So these kinds of kabocha style pumpkins tend to, I think the flesh is a little bit denser and a little bit drier and is sweeter than your pie pumpkin, but you can use them in a lot of the same recipes. And then there are a lot of other kinds of winter squashes that we can use as well. So this is delicata squash. And delicata squash is really nice. It's got a pretty thin skin, so you can eat it as well. What I like to do with delicata is either slit it the long way and open it up like a boat, and then you can scoop out the seeds. When you scoop out the seeds and the flesh, with most of these pumpkins, you can actually separate the seeds out, roast them in the oven, and have them as a snack. And so with the delicata, I like to slit it the long ways and then open it up like a boat. You can fill it with a filling, or you can slice it this way and it'll make rings. Take the seeds out and you can toss those rings with a little bit of oil, salt, and pepper, any seasonings you like, and just bake them flat in a tray. And then you have these little cooked squash rings, and they're super cute, and you can eat them with the skin on and everything. So delicata is a thin skin, you can eat it. This is a butternut squash, and these come in, this is a pretty small one, they come much larger as well. This has a pretty dense flesh. It has a thick skin, so often you'll see people will peel this, and what I find the easiest way to peel it is to cut the top and the bottom off, and maybe even just slice it down the center, and take a vegetable peeler and just hold on really tight, and just peel off the skin with the vegetable peeler. And then you can slice it into rings or slices, or you can chop it into squares and roast it in the oven. If you're not interested in peeling this, one thing you can do is you can just cut it open, scoop out the seeds, bake those two halves. Either, I like to do them face down, bake them in the oven until they're completely tender, and then just scoop the flesh out, and then you have a puree. This is, I think, called a carnival squash. I actually don't know what this one is called, but it is related to this, which is an acorn squash. They're both acorn shaped, and these have a fairly thick skin, so you may not want to eat the skin, but because it is ribbed, it can be hard to peel. So with these guys, what I like to do is I like to cut them in half, scoop out the seeds, and just roast them, the halves, into the oven, and then bake them. You can cut them this way. You can stuff them with some kind of filling, or you can just bake them empty and then scoop out the pulp once it's cooked, and then use that as a squash puree. So that's what I would do with those. This is also a kind of pumpkin. It's called a red curry squash, and it is a very similar texture, I think, to the Japanese, the kabocha style pumpkin, where the flesh is going to be drier and sweeter and almost kind of like a chestnut. And these are really nice. They come in a lot of different sizes. They come in different colors. And this is one of my favorite squashes. It's really fun to grow too if you have a garden. And it is similar to this, which is, I think this is a sweetmeat squash. It's gray on the outside. There are other squashes that have a similar color. There's a Hubbard squash, which is sort of like this, but much, much larger. And it can be a little off-putting that this pumpkin is gray on the outside, but on the inside, it really is orange. And the last one I wanted to talk about is this spaghetti squash. This one is a little darker in color than you would normally see a spaghetti squash. Often they're very light like this, but the spaghetti squash is very cool. It's not a very sweet squash, but one of the things that makes it so cool is that it has a really stringy pulp. And so instead of mashing into kind of a, you know, a puree like you would make a pumpkin pie with, it's stringy, and so you actually can take a fork and pull out those strings and then use them. They call it also vegetable spaghetti, so you can use it like noodles, and people will, I just put butter and salt on mine, but people put, you can put pasta sauce on it if you like and actually eat it like noodles.